Hi, I'm Elizabeth Webb from Houston Harp Music, and I'm going to show you how to change a wire string. Now today I'm going to be changing a string on a pedal harp, but the same principle will apply if you're changing a wire string on a lever harp. If the string you need to change is not wire, find my other video that applies to the type of string you're doing. So the way you know it's time to change a wire string is hopefully you're keeping track of how long it's been since you last changed it. You want to change it every 2 to 4 years or so. Definitely don't let it go more than 5 years. If it's been longer than 5 years or you don't know when it was last changed, you probably want to change those strings to brighten up the sound. The other way you can know is if the string is discolored, looking tarnished or rusted, which this F string is. That's another indication it's probably very old, definitely past time to change it. So today we're going to be changing this F wire string. Now thankfully when you buy a new wire string it'll come wound up and it already has the end all done. Depending on where you buy it from, it might look a little different from mine, but the end, you don't have to tie a knot, which makes it a lot easier. So your wire string should be ready to go. Now when you're going to undo a wire string, be careful because you don't want it to snap. This is metal. You don't want to hurt yourself or something else or scratch up your harp. So be very careful. Make sure that you have your tuning key on the correct string. You're not accidentally undoing a different string other than the one you're intending to do. And I have my pedals in the upright position. If this was a lever harp, I would have my levers not engaged so that the string is open and not tightened. So I'm going to start to release it, and I'm watching to make sure that this is the correct string. Now this one has not been changed in who knows how long. This harp was just acquired by a student, and so we don't know how long it's been since the strings were changed, and this particular one clearly needs to be changed. So I'm loosening it up, and if it's too tight you may need to do this from the other side, but like I said, make sure you're doing it on the right string. So it's pretty loose at this point. You don't have to go all the way around. If you want to just kind of work its way around like that, that works. Just try to leave the tuning pin in a vertical position where the hole is straight up and down. It'll make it a lot easier to take it out. I'm actually going to turn it one more time so that the end of the string is facing up. That way I can pull it down and it'll be a little bit easier to remove. Okay, so I've got the string loose. My tuning pin hole is straight up and down. Next comes the wire cutters. It's nothing fancy, just regular wire cutters from any hardware store. And I'm actually going to cut this in a couple places just to make it easier on myself. Remember, it's loose, never cut a tight string. That could hurt you and or the harp. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. And it just snapped, being careful to make sure it's not going to hit me. I'm holding on to this bottom part because I don't want it to flop down and scratch the harp. So I'm actually going to be pulling this out from below, but just so that I don't have as much to pull, I'm going to make one more cut about a foot above where the soundboard is so that I only have a little bit to have to pull out. This is a pretty thick string, so it's tricky to cut. Okay, I'm going to push it through the sound hole. I'm going to very carefully pull it out so that I'm not scratching the harp. Okay, and here it is. There's the end. I made sure to get this felt piece or whatever the end of your wire string has. Don't leave it in there. Your new string is already going to have something like that. So make sure everything comes out. All right, now it's time to get the top part off, which is hanging off. I'm going to be very, very careful with this because I don't want to hurt myself or the harp. So I'm actually going to use my tuning key, use the little hole. I like to kind of stick it in the part that's sticking up just to kind of hold on to it while I pull on this a little bit to straighten it. Do you see how it's now straight up and down? And I'm going to go ahead and very carefully try to yank it out. And there it comes. So I pulled it down so that it wasn't going to scratch the column. So there's the end of my old, way too old wire string. All right, before I put on my new string, because this harp is old and has been sitting, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that there's nothing there and use a nice soft non-abrasive cloth to just kind of wipe everything down. You can get dust off if there's a little bit of rust. Sometimes you can get it. I'm going to kind of hit the top of this and just rub down very carefully all the parts, being careful not to dislodge or move them, but just give them a nice little cleaning. So I've rubbed down all these sections, and I'm also going to rub down on the soundboard where the string goes into the soundboard, just to try to get that dust off and have it nice and shiny clean, which is, if you're going to put on new strings, why not get it all shiny clean? All right, I'm ready to install my new wire string. I'm going to very carefully unwind it because, again, I don't want it flinging out, scratching myself or the harp. So it's just kind of wound around in itself like that. Okay, and there it is. All right, so I'm going to very carefully take the end that does not have that's not tied, and I'm going to carefully do it up through the sound hole. I'm going to hold the end of the wire as I do it so that it's not scratching the sound hole as it pulls through. If you have a hard time finding the hole, you may need to have someone help you and shine a flashlight down through it so that you can see where it is. Okay, I'm very carefully pulling it through, making sure it's not scratching. And there we go. Okay, so far not too hard. This part's a little tricky, but you can do it. Just make sure you follow these steps. You're going to push it up through that hole, and remember we've left it vertical to make it nice and easy to put it straight through. Okay, I'm making sure that I'm on the correct side of, in this case, the pedal discs. But if you had a lever harp, you would want to be in the correct position in relation to the bridge pin and the lever. So here it is. Wires are a little different to install than a gut string or a nylon string. Rather than tightening it up from here, I'm actually going to give it a little bit of room. So I like to do round about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. I kind of gauge it from the top of the harp. So I'm going to use about this as my point. And I'm actually going to pull it down through and then bend the string down just like that. So I gave it about an inch of give, came down, bent the wire, and it'll bend pretty easily. All right, next is taking your tuning key, again making sure you're on the right tuning pin, not pulling on the wrong one. I'm counting from the back 1, 2, 3 to feel and make sure I'm on the right one. And you're going to start to tune it up. Notice that in that commotion, it actually moved. My string is now on the wrong spot, so I'm going to move it back, make sure it's where I need it to be, on the correct side of the left side of the bridge pin and in between the prongs of my pedal discs. Now I'm going to hold this carefully and start to tune it up. I'm kind of pulling it tight a little bit with my left hand because I want to make sure that it winds nice and tight, not loose. Make sure it goes around the part that's sticking up, not over it. Goes in towards the harp. And because this is such a large wire and I'm on my tippy toes, you might have to readjust your tuning key a couple times, which is fine. Okay, it's starting to get a little tense, so I don't have to hold it anymore. Make sure this doesn't hit you in the eye. You can kind of hear it adjusting. It's really settling into place now. Now is the time that we can get out our tuners and start actually tuning it up. If you don't want to grab your tuner yet, a little trick is put your E pedal to the middle. So I've got E sharp, or E natural and F flat, and they're going to be the same tone. So, so you can do the same thing. It's too low right now, of course, and you can listen to that. And get it more or less close to what it's supposed to be. And then from there, you can do the fine tuning. I like to tune using an app on my phone but some people prefer to have an actual physical tuner. Whatever you like is fine. So I'm going to look at my tuner. It's a very flat D sharp. Because this is an F, I want to tune it up to an E, because an E is an F flat. And there we go. Yes, it's going to need more tuning over time, but I've got it basically where it needs to be. So the last step is to take those wire cutters and cut off this piece. You want to cut it as close to the hole as possible. If you have a long piece sticking out, it's going to get caught on things, it'll get caught on your cover, can rip it. It's just not good. Cut it as close as you possibly can. So I'm going to turn my wire cutters with the end so that the close end is basically butted up as far as I can get it. And then snap it, and we're done. And that is how you change a wire string on a harp.